beautiful eyes. Like I heard from my brother before.
Welcome to Tiger Drop Films, where I give you my 50 cents on the things I love and I tiger drop the things I don't. And if you're coming back to this channel, then I sincerely thank you. Now let's get down to business. There are two new Like a Dragon games releasing pretty soon that involved Kiryu Kazuma. So I thought it'd be nice to go back and revisit what I consider to be a pivotal moment in the legacy of Kiryu Kazuma, if one that is a bit subdued. That being the time that Kiryu fought his father in Yakuza 3, or should I say, his uncle, Joji Kazama. It's clear that Mine is the main antagonist of Yakuza 3, there's no doubt about that. And I do believe that Joji Kazama does perhaps get swept a bit under the rug due to his plot point being a little bit out there. But what I mean is the fact that Kiryu's father figure, Shintaro Kazuma, turned out to have a younger, almost twin brother that was in the CIA this entire time. My point being that the secret brother in the CIA twist can easily be lumped together with, say, the Jingwan Mafia or Rubber Bullets. But I don't think that's a detriment, because in fact, with all these plot twists in the series, I like them. I think it's just part of what makes the Like a Dragon series the Like a Dragon series. Kinda like how every Resident Evil ends with the antagonist being blown apart by a rocket launcher, more often than not. Or if I had to list another comparison, think about Indiana Jones. How those films always end in some sort of mystical artifact using its power to defeat the villain. Stuff like that, but I think you know what I mean. A trope that a franchise creates, but a pretty cool one at that. The Yakuza series has its own tropes, and I don't think that's a bad thing, because these games manage to do some pretty cool narrative elements with their tropes and twists. But in regards to Joji Kazuma, I believe he serves the role of allowing Kiryu to finally fight his father figure, so to speak. Now, Kiryu was always on good terms with Shintaro Kazuma, even just going by Yakuza 1 and 2, but 0 does bring a little bit more depth into their relationship. But Kiryu never had any inner turmoil or angst against Shintaro, not unlike his sworn brother Nishiki did, because Kiryu always had a positive relationship with his father, as we see from how much they respect each other and how Shintaro admires the person that Kiryu's become. Which is why I believe that Yakuza 1 and 2 give us just enough of their backstory to make us care about them. Think about Yakuza 1, we see Shintaro save a tortured Kiryu from Lao Kalong. We get a little hint at Shintaro's past as an assassin that is further evaluated on in the opening of Yakuza 2, where we see in the opening that Shintaro was taking out the Jingwan Mafia, and we get to see more of his skill. But as we see in that plot, it also shows how much Kiryu respected that man at such a young age.
遅くなったな、カズマ。
おやす、足が。
何？お前のためなら足の1本や2本。
すんません。
長いは無用だ。すぐに安全な場所に連れてってやるからな。
毎年クリスマスになると俺たちの個人ひまわりへ顔を出してくれていた。だがあの日おやっさんは来なかった。俺はおやっさんに何かあったのかと思い一人カムロ町へと向かった。
お久しぶりです。
何しに来た？
お話があるんです。
今日はダメだ。帰れ。
いつもは優しいおやっさんだったがその時は違った。 やすさんの後を追った。おやすさんは組の指示に逆らって人言派を逃がすつもりでいた。俺はそんなことも知らずに。
Then if we take the events of Yakuza 0 into consideration, where Kiryu pretty much fought to keep Shintaro safe even though he was in jail, if we take all that into consideration, it makes the death of Shintaro in Yakuza 1 all the more tragic. Because Kiryu lost so many people that night. And you can see that losing Shintaro really hurt Kiryu, because even though Shintaro may have murdered Kiryu's biological parents in real life, that didn't matter to Kiryu, because he saw Shintaro as his true father. Playing into the franchise's themes of that family is not always defined by blood, more so just the bonds you make. Yet, with this in mind, why do I believe it was a pivotal moment for Kiryu to quote-unquote fight his father in Yakuza 3? Well, it's because of this. We shouldn't see it in just physical fighting terms, but more so in the sense of Kiryu's character progressing. If Shintaro was alive, he would have definitely supported Kiryu in opening his orphanage, Morning Glory, which is the whole driving point of Yakuza 3. Because at the end of the day, Shintaro is the man who molded Kiryu into who he is with his values and morals. The sort of old school Yakuza that does things out of honor instead of just monetary gain or corrupt goals. And this discipline is also seen in Kashiwagi, who was there to help Kiryu during Yakuza 2 and 3, but Kashiwagi is tragically killed during the events of Yakuza 3, and this drives Kiryu forward in the story. So essentially, the death of Kashiwagi means Kiryu lost his other important sort of parental uncle-like figure, and since Yakuza 3 is a story about Kiryu forming his own family with the kids at Morning Glory and living a life of Haruka, so Kiryu would have to step up to be more than the man he already is, to be the father that these kids need. Because the story of this game is about fatherhood. As we see with Old Man Nakahara and Saki, their relationship builds up to what we see of Kiryu and Haruka by the end of the game. And speaking of Old Man Nakahara, he is almost fatally shot by Joji Kazama in the beginning of the game, just like the fact that Joji shot Daigo. So the fact that Joji has gone around and shot two important figures in Kiryu's life, and Nakahara representing his life in Okinawa, and Joji looking just like Shintaro Kazuma, means that Kiryu's past is coming back to haunt him. And for all that Kiryu knows, the helicopter that attacked Kashiwagi could have been related to this man who looks just like his father. So Kiryu being haunted by his past, I would not say it's straight up psychological, more so just a spiritual sense that Kiryu, while he's trying to form a brand new life far away from the Yakuza and Okinawa with the orphans, parts of his past can still haunt him, and parts that represent good memories of his, but also why he got into the Yakuza. And this brings us to Kiryu's first encounter of Joji with Lao Kalong, which mirrors that time Shintaro saved Kiryu from Lao Kalong many years ago. And in this scene, Joji ends up shooting Lao Kalong through the forehead, and he only mutters this iconic phrase to Kiryu.
You ga Kiryu Kazuma ka?
Ah.
Beautiful eyes.
Eh?
Like I heard from my brother before.
I'm sure that's a pickup line a lot of chicks would love to hear. But jokes aside, the beautiful eyes line, and like I heard from my brother before, tells us and Kiryu that no, it's not Shintaro that somehow came back to life, it's just his brother that we never knew about, Joji. But ultimately, the next time that Joji and Kiryu meet would be their fateful battle, where Kiryu is instructed by the Ministry of Defense Tamiya to go save his own assistants, Toma, from being assassinated by Joji. Essentially, Joji Kazama works for the CIA, and they're trying to uproot this old organization called the Black Monday, which ties to the main plot of Yakuza 3. If that sounded like a lot, well, Yakuza 3 has a whole chapter called The Plot, so there you go. But anyway, that leads into Joji having to fight Kiryu, not out of any anger or disrespect, or even really conflicting ideals, just from where they stand in the story, they're forced to fight. Fight in a strip club, mind you, but I'll let the opening cutscene speak for itself.
俺はあんたにこれ以上人を殺してほしくない。
俺は命令に従う。俺を止めたければ分かってるな。
ああ、あんたを倒すしかないということだな。
さすがは兄貴が見込んだ男だ。物分かりがいいらしい。兄貴と同じ血の通った俺をお前は殴ることができるのか。
さあな。だが重要なのは血じゃない。俺とおやっさんは絆でつながってる。
その絆しっかり見せてもらおうか。桐生一馬、覚悟。
As Kiryu stated in the cutscene, the bond between him and Shintaro went deeper than just blood. And so, Joji beckons on for Kiryu to truly show him the bond he had with Shintaro, therefore ensuing what is easily one of Kiryu's toughest and greatest battles in his entire life. A fight that isn't even the final battle of Yakuza 3, but a fight that represents a shadow, an important shadow from Kiryu's past, as he's trying to live in the present and build his own future. Having the battle against the mirror image of his father, the man who taught Kiryu all his morals and ideals, or in other words, Kiryu's true chance to show his potential. And absolutely prove his potential he does, because when Kiryu defeats Joji, there's nothing but respect and admiration between these two men. Where we then have a moment between Kiryu and Joji where they're just able to talk about events in the plot, of course, but also as just a moment between these two characters, uncle and nephew. But trouble comes once again when Taichi finds Kiryu and Joji and informs him that Morning Glory has been attacked by Mine and Tamashiro, which transpires into a fight at a bull arena, and sadly in the death of a beloved character, Rikia.
俺は許さねえぞ。おい、リキヤ！調子のリキヤ！リキヤ！
In the death of Rikia, there was a moment that really stands out to me in particular, and that's when Joji arrives and he kills Tamashiro, but he's also there to console Kiryu at what is pretty much the only moment we ever see Kiryu just bawl his eyes out in tears. If Rikia's death represents another tragedy in Kiryu's life, then Joji's presence there is a nice sort of consolation for Kiryu, as another father figure for him is there to comfort him. It's pretty great visual storytelling. Following this, Joji hopes Kiryu get back to Tokyo in time to stop Mine and Richardson. And the last time that we see Joji is when he's on the helicopter after the final battle, cementing his promise to be there for Kiryu. I only wish that we got that handshake between Joji and Kiryu, but perhaps something like that is better left knowing that it happened off screen.
世話になったな。
何をしてる？まだ全てが終わったわけじゃないだろう。お前がミネを倒し、俺がリチャードソンを捕まえた時、その時まで このシェイクハンドは取っておこう。
In conclusion, Joji Kazama represented a spiritual battle for Kiryu to undergo, with him obviously being a lookalike or twin of Shintaro Kazama. But let's not have that detract from Joji himself, for he's quite interesting as a character, especially since he's in the CIA and all. There's literally no one else in the series like him, and there's no doubt that he left an impression on fans alike. He's mysterious, and I would like to know more about him, but perhaps it's best left as that, him being mysterious in the CIA and having a connection to Kiryu himself. Ultimately, Yakuza 3 would suffer if it didn't have Joji in the plot. He definitely adds to it. For a story about fatherhood, it definitely makes sense for Kiryu to fight his own father. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate it if you gave me a like and maybe subscribe. I really wanted to talk about Yakuza 3, and this specific topic really interested me. I'm trying to find a way to cover each Yakuza game in my own way. So with that being said, stay tuned and I hope to see you next time. Tiger Drop Films out.